Good morning and welcome to the May 9th, 2026 meeting of the Coalition of Little Rock Neighborhoods. We thank the Housing and Neighborhoods Department again for the gift of the coffee. We are in the auditorium at the Hinton Resource Center. Good facility here. We are recording this live and we will post the recording on our Facebook page and after the meeting. That Facebook address is at CLRN.AR, so check that out. We offer water, coffee, snacks at the back of the room. We have 2 sign-in sheets, one the city keeps and one that we keep. We do have various handouts for city services, plus this on city coalition letterhead, which is a summary of what money will come through the Google Data Center, thanks to City Finance Director. So make sure you have a copy of that when the time comes. And first we're going to hear from State Representative Denise Ennett, who has both data centers in District 80, the one in Wrightsville and the one in the city. And we just heard that the one in the city is going to be 100 days plus out from its responses and official and next steps. So that puts all the attention on the Avio data hub down at Wrightsville, which just bought private properties and then began its work. So, Denise Ennett, please talk to us about the data centers and your responses to what we know today.
Good morning, everybody. I'm State Representative Denise Ennett. I thought you wanted me to talk about the legislative stuff.
And the legislative just completed. Okay. Yes, thank you for catching me up there.
So we just completed our fiscal session, and we also completed a special session to address tax cuts. So for all y'all who don't understand what a fiscal session is, it's held every even year, and it is focused on the state budget. So some of the things that we did discuss during the fiscal session, we do have a $6.7 billion general revenue budget. Arkansas does not deficit spend. Every year we must budget the money. So where the money went? Where did the money go? $41 million to the Department of Corrections. $16.3 million increase to Arkansas State Police, $5.9 million increase to colleges and universities, $309 million to the educational freedom accounts, which is the school vouchers, $70 million surplus set aside for anticipated voucher program growth, $100 million surplus to Medicaid Sustainability Reserve Fund, $300 million surplus to the Economic Development Project in West Memphis, and $3.5 million to pregnancy help organizations. Also, we did pass a homestead credit bill. So it increased it from $600 to $675, and it passed both of our houses unanimously. So what we did talk about also in fiscal session, my colleague Senator Brian King did have some resolutions that he did bring to us to address crypto mining and data centers. Unfortunately, it did not meet the threshold to get out of committee, so we couldn't talk about it on the floor. In order to do that, you have to have a 2/3 vote from both chambers to get it heard on the floor. And but just to talk about some of the things, he introduced about 4 resolutions
That's okay. Be certain.
Okay. so some of the resolutions that he did bring to us was to give more power to the local governments. So when these centers come to our communities, we have more of a voice. And so with the data center bill that we did in 2023 that limits our rights is the local government to control how these things come in our communities. And I suspect with the next session, him and others and myself will be working on bills to bring more greater transparency to the community so we have more of a say what's going on in our backyard.
If I may add a note of information that may, excuse me, have escaped your notice because you've been so very busy in this field. Just yesterday, the county government agenda was posted for the Tuesday night committee meeting that had 5 different proposals dealing with the unincorporated county areas and getting greater transparency and attention to safety rules and limitations of data centers. From Judge Wendell Griffin, who's a candidate for judge on the November ballot. He has in Justice Julie Blackwood a sponsor for these. He's carefully crafted them to avoid any cross with city governments, where in fact everybody is but the one down at Wrightsville. And so your efforts to carefully move past the 23 limitations is something that is all over his particular package of bills. I will send this out after the meeting so you all can see it in full. It gets very technical very quickly, but it's very clear what he's trying to do and protect the residents of the county from ill effects of data centers going forward on all sorts of fronts. So we've got that coming on the county front.
Yes. Thank you for that, Kathy. And also too, since all those resolutions that he did try to bring up, they didn't go anywhere, but it gave us more notice, put notice to people of Arkansas that we are looking for some bills to address those issues. Some of the things that our fiscal session did not fund is postpartum Medicaid. Arkansas is one of the only states in the union that does not cover postpartum Medicaid. And so the money that we had went to that. Also, we know that early childhood education wait list, that's been a topic. To clear that wait list, we just needed $24 million. So these are things that we probably could have funded with the budget, but we decided not to. Also, we have the CES waiver wait list. My son has disabilities, so he benefits from these things. There's a wait list of about 4,500 who are waiting to get Medicaid so they can have services. And so money that we have, the $6.7 billion, some of that money could have been used to these things to help make life here in Arkansas better for our citizens.
This is a special category of Medicaid for those diagnosed with special conditions like
IDDs, disabilities like autism.
Thanks, we need a
spinal
little
bifida.
description. Appreciate that.
Yes, and so there's a wait list of people, and these lists are very long, and people can wait years and years. And so some of the money that we had in our budget could have went to something like that as well. And that's another subject that we can go down the rabbit hole about. But those are just some examples of some of the things that we could have probably funded to make life easier for Arkansans. Also, let's talk about the tax cuts. All right.
How did you vote on those, by the way?
I voted, I didn't vote for the tax cuts. Most of the Democrats did not vote for it. I think maybe one did. And, so anyway, individual approximately $192 million per year. So what does this mean? Median income earners around $62,000 a year saves approximately $11 a year. A person earning $200,000 or more can save thousands of dollars per year. So our argument with that was, if you cut the income tax, cut the corporate rate income tax, how does that help Arkansans who need, SNAP and all those type of things, education, because that's what funds all those bureaucracies that we have here in Arkansas. So the argument was, okay, we cut the corporate tax for the top earners, how does that trickle down to us? And that was our argument, and our body, they wanted to vote for it, and they voted for it, and the governor signed it into law Wednesday.
How did they say it was gonna trickle down to the little people?
They didn't.
We just,
Article of faith.
right, we just believe them when they say that.
Yeah, and then they threw in not the garbage tax, the grocery tax, and that's a regressive tax, right? I think
It is a regressive
And
tax.
so, you're not gonna save a lot of money on your grocery tax, right? So they tried to throw in like, oh, well, if we give in all this tax cuts for the corporate, that's gonna trickle down, but they never really tell us how it trickles down, so.
Surplus.
Surplus.
How much money do Arkansas have in the kitty?
I'm sorry, we're concerned about the good sound we're getting here. Could you repeat that a little bit louder for the microphone, darling?
Surplus. At the end of the day, after, they gave the rich all the tax cuts, how much money do Arkansas have in the kitty?
Let's see. Okay, on my notes it said.
8 billion, something like that.
Huh?
About 8 billion, something like that.
Well, our budget is 6.7 billion, so
In reserve.
I don't have the number for what's in reserve.
Okay.
It's some hundreds, millions. I remember that news story.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, so it said with all the cuts, it said the total cost of the state approximately is $192 million per year, but that didn't answer your
Right,
question.
they have money. Arkansas
Oh, we have
has
money. We
They
have money.
now.
We have money, yes, we have a lot of
So had they chosen every category you mentioned with the wait list,
money.
or
Wouldn't have touched
would
them.
relieve a human need, like postpartum services,
Mhm.
we're sitting here with money in the kitty. All we have to do is choose to spend it that way.
Yes.
They're not choosing to spend it that way in the majority of the legislature or the governor's office.
It's priorities.
And those are one-time increases, or are those added to their annual budget?
What?
Those, like the 41 million to Department of Correction, are those?
That's the money that they asked for.
That's the current biennium.
Yeah. That's the money that, they could come back and ask for money every, yeah,
Okay.
so.
That covers the
Oh.
legislature unless there are any more questions. We're gonna go to data centers.
Okay, so data centers, okay. So I like to put a disclaimer out there. I am not an expert in data centers, right? So all this information just kind of comes to me, and I try to get it out as soon as I can. We did meet with ADO about a month and a half ago, me and Mayor Derek Rainey in Wrightsville. And so we had a nice discussion, and I did share with you the FAQ that they gave me.
And I have sent that out to the data center listing of people that want to keep up with that.
Yes.
Plus, something that may not have passed by you because you were in the session, the website for that corporation now is asking for tenants for their Wrightsville project. So it lists all of the, boy, have we got a deal for you kinds of things that they want to offer you as the landlord. to the people that would come in and rent one or more of their buildings. I've also sent this link out, so you can download this for yourself.
All right, so and we know that it's 760 acres just west of Wrightsville. It's located in the unincorporated parts of Pulaski County. Some issues have come up with the rural volunteer fire department, and so with the water supply. So all these things, they are supposed to address it with the public. I've asked for questions. Some constituents have asked for questions. One in particular was not satisfied with the questions, and I'm like, I don't know how more to help you with that. So it's an ongoing back and forth with me and the company. They did agree to do an advisory committee, and I haven't heard much more about that. They want to have people in the community to join this advisory committee for goodwill, I suppose. But our Mayor Rainey, he did have a proposal for the ABO for community support, to have them fund some of the things that he thinks that's important for the city of Wrightsville. More to come on that. I don't know if they're going to oblige him with that. I'm not sure. I'm not in that discussion right now. But Mayor Rainey, he is going to host a meeting in June, and I'll share that with you, Kathy, for the community to come out and
Public discussion.
public discussion. Yes.
Do you have a date, a time, and a place?
I can share that with you.
All righty. And when I get it, I will share it with you all.
Yes.
Did they talk about jobs?
So, think about that. They're only gonna produce under 100 jobs.
Or less?
Or less. So we know that data centers are not a big,
Because I've looked at other sites,
yes.
and the parking lot is about as big as this room. So that tells me there's not gonna be a whole lot of jobs.
There won't be a whole bunch of jobs, and I think they're gonna partner with Pulaski Tech to have a certificate program. And they already told us that it's only gonna be under 100 jobs there. So probably the most jobs that will be there is building it with the construction, and after all that's gone, then you left with the under 100 employees there, so.
Now, one of the things that I know we are researching further is on the construction end of it. They have proposed, they've announced this property will be 5 buildings at full build out over the years. As in any other business where demand justifies building the next to the next to the next. The image they give you is that a fairly large construction crew will come in day one to build building 1, and they expect such robust business activities. They will remain coming back to the site to come into building 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. So obviously, one of the questions is how that deals with the county roads into the site and continuous heavy equipment activities. And another is where these people will be housed in what is not really going to be temporary housing. If the crews come and they stay and they stay, they are in the area for some foreseeable period of years. And so that's something that leads to one of our group's favorite issues, which is, what about affordable housing development? And how might that go?
And I'm sure Mayor Rainey is
Is working on that. One of the things that I remember from earlier discussions and in the public domain is in that area of Wrightsville and the surrounding, call it suburban, outside the city limits, residential areas, is they have very old, very broken water and sewer operations. And the question becomes whether Avao is going to, once again, as the Google company did, at the Port of Little Rock facility, contract with Central Arkansas Water for their water and the Reclamation Authority for the disposal of their waste. And we don't know the answer to that yet. And if it's not gonna be that, then the practical observation is they have got to rebuild those lines for their own use. And the discussion moves to what additional few dollars they might invest in that to benefit the community as a whole. So we know the scope of the discussion on that.
Also too,
I did have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Have they said how close in proximity will the data center be close to Daisy Banks Elementary?
I'm not sure
Could
exactly.
you repeat the question? We're having sound issues.
I'm
We
sorry.
asked everybody to come forward as far as possible. Alternately, speak up loud and clear.
I was asking, have they confirmed how close will the data center be by the school, Daisy Banks Elementary?
I can ask the question.
Okay,
Yeah.
because we just been given longitude and latitude, and so that doesn't really give us any type of clarity.
And what is the address of Daisy Banks?
That I'm not sure.
Well, tell us when you get it, and we will
Yeah.
clock it into our researches. That's one of the things we do, is we take research orders in this meeting.
And also, in dealing with these businesses, they don't really give you a lot of direct answers. And so it's very frustrating for me when constituents ask me direct questions and I don't get direct answers. So it's not that I'm trying to deflect and not
Right.
answer it. That's.
They're not telling you either.
They're not really giving us a lot of information. Yes. Judge.
Daisy Bates Elementary School is at 925 Dixon Road.
Thank you.
Also too, so the other data center is Google, and that's the one that the comment period just ended on the 1st of May. I hope everybody got their comments in. I did. I did have a Zoom call with them, with another colleague, about 2 weeks ago, and again, that was a very vague conversation. They couldn't give me any strong, specific things.
Speak with what authority?
Google.
Google, thank you.
Yes, Google. And so they are working with me to get some talking points. I know that they're doing a lot of good things, or not, I should say, they're working in West Memphis community, and they have their different things there, and so they're still trying to get everything here in Little Rock, so everything is just,
The West Memphis is front burner, so Little Rock's a little bit behind.
yeah. And also too, I will also encourage you all, if y'all have questions, you can also FOIA the Department of Commerce. I had a constituent yesterday, I got him the information so he can do a FOIA request. And so if that's something you're interested in, let me know, because if you go on the website, you're not going to see a FOIA request option on that particular department's website.
Is this the State Commerce Agency?
Mm-hmm.
Well, why don't I just take an email from you that has the FOIA request, do this, this, and this steps?
Yeah.
And then we will have it out to our list.
Yes, and that might give you some more clarity there. I don't know if they're gonna redact certain things, I'm not sure. So, that's another avenue if you really want to know a little bit more about what's going on with that. Again, the Google and the AVO is ongoing. I don't have a lot more information to tell you all, but as I get the information, I will share with Kathy. And we are looking for people who want to join the advisory group that me and Kathy had discussed a month ago. So,
Welcome volunteers.
so anybody that wants to help with this advisory group, welcome. And my main intent for the advisory group is to come together, find some policies that I can possibly run in 2027 to address the issues, right? So I want it to be very succinct, very once I get that going, we could start meeting on, you know, maybe a couple meetings and see what other states are doing and see what we could do here in Arkansas. And possibly work with Senator King maybe, or some other legislators that have some of these issues in their communities.
How should we sign up for that?
Yes. Well, we could create a sign up right now.
If I may suggest, go back to the sign-in sheet you all signed, the one for CLRN, not the one for the city, and just put, AG for advisory group by your name. And then we will create a new separate
Pass it
email.
around now. You wanna do that? Pass it around.
Well, fine, Rip, please, we accept your offer to do that.
Where are we going?
We'll just pass it around from the back to the front.
Oh, and while we're talking about Google, I did go to a meeting in Sweet Home. Susan Forte, I don't know if you know who she is. She lives in the Sweet Home community. You know Susan Forte? She's very esteemed and very spirited. They are meeting so they can figure out how they can make Sweet Home, how they can benefit from having a Google in their backyard. So I went to, well, you know, we're just trying to see how we can make it work for us since these things are coming. And she's working with a group. They met this past Monday at the Sweet Home Community Center. I could share those dates with you. So they are already trying to form a group to figure out how does this work in their community. Wrightsville is doing the same thing. So, yes, ma'am.
Cause I stay off Market Road.
Okay.
So how are they communicating this to the residents, these meetings that they're having?
Oh, like Sweet Home?
Yes, home.
Oh, you mean the data center officials?
No, like.
No, the community.
Or the advocates for
They're
organizing?
advocates, right, it's organizing these meetings.
When I was there, they had some church people there, like the pastors. So they were supposed to be telling all the churches around it to tell their congregants about the meetings.
Okay.
But I can share with you Susan
Okay.
Forte's number, and so you can get on that group and,
Okay.
or get with them to start going to the meetings.
Okay,
Yeah,
cause
do
it
you think
literally will be in my backyard, so I will kinda
Okay.
like to know, you know, the outlook.
Yes, ma'am.
And please tell us your name.
My name is Brittany Walker.
Welcome, Brittany Walker.
Nice to meet you. Yes.
Yes, starting next week, I will be going door knocking in Sweet Home area.
Okay.
Just to get people's opinion and thoughts about data centers being proposed
Okay.
in their neighborhood. And so if y'all interested in, want to know how it came out to be and things like that, I'm more than welcome to take y'all or let y'all know. So I'm Charles Ray from the Arkansas Branch Group United. And pretty much I'll be going out in Sweet Home area just to get people to guide city opinions about the matters of Google being set up in their neighborhood.
Do you know where the Wrightsville data center is getting funded?
Getting their funding.
Their corporate treasure chest.
It's a private company.
It turns out they have a national North American office somewhere in Law, but thanks to some very clever researchers, they brought me word about the ultimate headquarters is in Luxembourg.
Right,
And if you pay enough money, you can get their financial report.
right.
So they're a very rich company.
I didn't do that. Also, they lease most of the land. Do you know anything about the lease?
I think they purchased the land.
We've got deed title changes, also thanks to researchers.
I think it was a tree orchard, I think, that sold it to them. It was
Well,
a family.
I checked and they bought 40 acres, and it said when I looked at the assessor that it was a lease, and when the land was leased.
I'm not, I don't know.
That's interesting, because what we had provided us was copies of title deeds.
Right, they only bought 40.
Oh, they only bought 40?
Well, that's what I looked at the county assessor. And
Okay.
transfer, and they,
bought some and leased some,
Okay, that's something we can look into.
yes.
That's smart.
I was just curious how long their lease was, you know, see how long they want to stay. And what happens if they don't get anyone to rent the building?
Oh,
Okay.
that's a tax advantage. You buy it, you have a long-term lease, the lease prices can be a tax write-off, the purchase or interest write-off. You lease it to yourself as you build out your next phase of the data center. So it's gonna be a long-term lease. They're not gonna allow anybody else to use that property. You bought 40 acres of 760.
No, we've got title deeds to more than that number.
Well, they've got control, their projection on their website is 760 acres for the Aveda. So their long-term plan is to build out, to control that space. And so that the reason you do it because is for tax purposes.
I think there's a reference to 30 years and something, but, not sure quite where that fits.
I have a quick question. I'm from Conway. We also have a data center coming in.
Speak up, my dear, for the recording.
Conway, and we also have a data center, so I'm here just for kind of info and big picture. And it's not about the one, it's about the 4 to 6 that we have planned that are on the same waterway, the same infrastructure grids. We all have sinking. Agricultural economy is already being hit. That is going to take another hit. Our diversity, I mean, we could go into the minutia of all the ways that we need to have some concerns. Also, that the initial contracts are small in comparison to what these 30-year agreements will eventually be the impact of, because we know they're going to go out. We know there's demand. I Googled information today about it, right? That's the rub. We all use it, we need it, but how to still be good stewards over our technology. So my request today is for us to just think about the big picture, and from a legislative stance to ask for moratoriums, to say this is too fast and too much. And we got crowds coming everywhere from the national level down to the city and county level, and so thank you for asking questions and having meetings. And I would just say, if we go after policy and protections overarchingly, instead of getting stuck in the muck of what they're trying to do, because that will be us, right? We need a pause. We need to stop and make sure these are wise decisions. I know there's probably not an appetite for that in our legislature, but that's where I want to remind, like, we have agency as citizens to pay attention to your question, the long over here, which the schools, it's not just the water, it's the air quality, it's the heat, it's the resources, it is everything, right? And so, if you're not on social media, it's kind of hard to know where to get that information because they're not seeking it out. So this is the time to find your people that are working for you and engage. So citizens, this is our moment. I'm going to get real emotional because we got to have it, but how we do it in a responsible manner, not just for today, but in 30 years, what does that look like? And we cannot sustain a capacity. My son was in Nevada. They are offering people $3 a square foot to take their yard out because they don't have water for their yards. Okay? When you think about it, you take away your nature, it will survive without us, but we can't without it. And so the capacity right now at Conway's original plan, water usage is between 20 and 50,000 homes. We're 70,000 residents. The build out is 6 times that. So if we are doing that, and then also the responsibility, what's the downstream impact to your neighbor? And what are you going to do? We're going to dry out Plummerville and Minifund. That is not my goal as a citizen to do that to my neighbor. And so look upstream, look downstream, all around you because they're coming hard and fast. They roll back your water regulations, your air regulations, they're going after endangered species, and they also in that don't take your eye off of the big picture, because it's too much, it's too fast, and it can't, okay, I'm done. So, more information, because we come next, we press because of what y'all have done. We now have groups organizing, our mayor has risen to the occasion to at least have a community meeting with us at outcry, okay? And same thing that you're doing, so it's not just that we want to vilify, so we absolutely can't, because we are the consumers of said product, so.
And also too, and thank you for being here, and I heard that that's happening in your neck of the woods. Also, when we talk about Google, the city annexed that part, you know, the Port Authority. So reach out to some of your city officials.
Yes.
Right? You know,
This is the time.
reach out to,
It's noticeable that we have time here today. I know that Bev was here a while back, but I feel that they need to be more involved
Yeah.
in these meetings.
because I don't know how those negotiations went, but that is the city of Little Rock, so.
But didn't they sign an NDA so that?
They did sign.
Every time I talk to them, I'm like,
We have posted the April 2025 purchase from the city of Little Rock through the city board of directors for the property in the port that was to Willow Bend, their agent for Google. Their name was never mentioned. And it was quietly moved through there. There was an agreement about the tax abatements attached. I have procured that, I have posted that. And we recently asked the city board from the Coalition of Little Neighborhoods to have a public discussion about the data center. I was at a Thursday night meeting of the Downtown Neighborhood Association where Virgil Miller told us that he was getting information from the utilities servicing this facility, and he was going to get a white paper of information out to the community next week, and that he wanted a public discussion such as this to occur. He supported it because he did not know enough himself, and had the vote been presented today, he would not vote for it. So that's one director heard from. Cappy Peck has also independently asked for public discussion on this. Nobody's replied to her or to me, so we're going to renew that discussion.
And I've asked for it too.
And you are definitely need to have a seat at that table. One of the things about the handout that you should have a copy of here, or if not, share it with your neighbor, is the agreement threw in another paragraph, actually Appendix A, that in addition to the standard abatement of taxes in the amount of 65% for the term of 30 years, because it's tied to the bond issue that they took advantage of for building the facility. And that's your standard Act 9 of 1960 tax abatement setup. These are the numbers that show what it would have been had there been no abatement, and what it will be with the abatement coming into all of these categories of public millage supported schools, county, city, library, and so forth and so on. In addition to this, there is a $300,000 enrichment pledged from Google to the city of Little Rock for every one of these 30 years, as soon as Building 1 gets its certificate of occupancy and they move in and they start doing their thing. And that's pretty much money that we can persuade the city to spend on anything the city decides to spend money on. So on this particular memo going forward, I've just thrown in what is a recurring shortfall issue, which is affordable housing in the City Housing Trust. A brand new creation from a few months ago that had zero budget. So we're saying, why don't you make that a $300,000 budget gift from this project to housing? You're certainly welcome to write your city director your own proposal for how this $300,000 will be spent. In addition, when they get another building going in their happy, profitable future, $200,000 more starts flowing to the city for additional enrichment. And beyond that, every 5 years, remember, we're working on a 30-year schedule here, it goes up 2%. So that's the Google property to the city of Little Rock by this memorandum of understanding. Yes, Rick?
This millage budget, is this, I see this differential of about 9 to 10 million, is that a 30-year limit?
That's every year for 30 years, that's how the flow goes.
Okay, so my quick math, 300,000 a year times 30, it's about 9 million, so, and I know you said there's a 2% plus 200 per building. So
Right.
Actually, a little bit more than what we would lose with the millage, but, who's in charge of ensuring that gets collected or dispersed, or however what's the term?
I would say probably the city attorney's office, because that's where this legal agreement rests. And I'm pretty sure that the city finance director, Nicholas Sarpy, who was gracious enough to run the calculations for me, this is not my skill in life, would be watching for it to come in on the due date. And if it doesn't come in on the due date, he will raise a question about where is it?
And this is just Google.
This is just for the city Google Port of Little Rock property. Because they bought private land and they weren't dealing with any government entity down in the area of Wrightsville, you have no public entity with whom you do any kind of an arrangement.
So the trade-off I'm seeing is that millage is allocated, but this 300,000 annual, you're saying we need to go to the city.
It is not allocated, and we can propose whatever we want.
And also too, conversely, on the county end, since the one next to Riceville is in the unincorporated part of the county, you could reach out to your, quorum court members. Like, I think Tina Ward might be the quorum court, am I right in saying that? Tina Ward, she's the JP of that area. I'll defer you, I will have those discussions with her and see what she could do on her end, to get you some more clarity on that.
Well, you take her this fact sheet and you just ask her to be an advocate to see that they deliver on every promise they've made here. This is a wonderful series of promises that Aveo has made. I'm sorry. We'll just see if it lives up to the hype.
Where's the fact sheet? Where
Yeah.
you do
I'm sorry?
the fact sheet that you hold?
I sent that out to my data center list
Oh, okay.
already. If you're a latecomer and it happens not to have come to you, then please feel free to let me know that you are missing the FAQ Aveo sheet, and I'll send it to you.
Well, the sign-up sheet should be somewhere.
I've heard a lot of concerns about the water use, but the energy use is also a big concern. We've heard estimates that this might take as much as the energy use within the city of Little Rock. Why aren't we requiring these data centers to make use of renewable energy to supply their needs, rather than ask the public to pay for increasing infrastructure to supply the energy?
Because Entergy, as the electric utility monopoly for this part of the world, has made it policy to pursue maximum profits by building expensive new plants that they recover costs from. Then they persuaded their buddies in the legislature to a really iniquitous, awful, scandalous, bad bill that said you can now charge your residential only ratepayers for building this. It used to be they had to build it before they billed you for it's running now, so you need to pay for it, which we kind of understood that kind of a deal. But nowadays, there were 3 rate increases in the last 2 months, one of which is in this category, and it's going to pay for a brand new construction down in Jefferson County. And if I remember correctly, I have sent some of these out following the news following on this. This is a facility that will be mostly, but enough to the public that they can justify charging the public. The West Memphis Google facility. And there's really enough hazards and uphill fights to try and get general policies like we've been discussing. When you talk about breaking through the energy monopoly partnership with the majority of the legislature and the economic development community, they're not gonna hear about renewables. Amory Lovins and the Rocky Mountain Institute, who have for a generation provided information and hard research about how effective this is. And in fact, he has posted a report rather recently, I need to bring that up to us, that analyzed data centers and their consumptions, just like you've talked about. And he concluded that out of the existing customer base of that electric utility, they could, with judicious tightening of wastage, let's call it, and use of renewables, they could provide every bit of electricity demand for a data center, not creating a new center, but out of the existing customer base. And we can certainly start advocating for that. In fact, I'll make sure that I get that to us.
It looks like Google has a lot of sustainability initiatives with Conway, so I'm not sure if they negotiated with that or if that's something, so some of the circulars, if you go to their website, there's a lot of sustainability initiatives, which we are looking at, the use of gray water and also renewables are part of our negotiation, so maybe specific with your committee group. And then, there are international efforts, of course, that are well ahead of the, the requirements and things, so when you look at protections or some of that, maybe that's the negotiation conversation, at least with Google, I don't know about the other companies.
Well, that's just the face of one of the big ones. We've not really heard about them all before they shut up in our backyard. They're active out there in a lot of places, and they make a lot of promises. But there's also a report from Amory Lovins, as I said, a lifetime in this particular field, that analyzed this and concluded this is a classic speculation bubble. It's going to bust. Not all of these are going to be built. Some that are built are going to go bust because they're not going to get the business they have been speculating they're going to get. And so orderly closing of these facilities becomes an important policy for us to be advocating for and finding out more about. And there are a lot of advocates toolkits out there now. I just got one in 2 days ago from a town in Wisconsin with the name Menominee, Menomie, I believe. Anyway, I sent that one out to my group, and there were two before it. Amory Lovins has got one called Lightening the Load, and he has got a case study on the Memphis troubled development and how they are dealing with that one badly. So that's one to look up.
Make a suggestion real quick. So, what this group can do is ask somebody from Energy to come and speak to let you all know what their plans are. And so I can help facilitate that if you want.
I think that's a great idea. Let's see if we can get them here next month.
Yes, yes. And that's what I'm gonna work on, impact studies, yeah. For next, yeah.
And they're also requested that some of the tax abatement goes into levy protections too, so I don't know if we need this year with our levy.
That's a good idea because we do have a levy by the prison that needs some work. So that's a great idea. Thank you.
Well, Central Arkansas Water too.
Oh, okay. Central Arkansas Water. So I see energy people all the time, so I need to figure out who I can talk to and see the
Well, Ted Bohannon is the director.
Yes.
And one of the things that I did very soon after we learned this was coming was I specifically asked him whether Central Arkansas Water was going to supply the Port of Little Rock facility. And he said yes. And then I asked a couple of more questions because I had basically the information to know to do that, which is, how will that impact your overall supplies? Will it draw down your supplies? Will it hasten the need for going into the next phase of supplies? They have these plans that themselves go out 30 years, as a good utility should. and I've been familiar with some of this. And he answered that they had ample supplies, even in drought conditions. They do not anticipate this is going to require them to go to the next supply issues and policies any faster than currently planned. So they are all in ample supply. And so I'm not sure what we would ask them beyond, did you really tell it like it is? Did the same thing with the sewer utility officials and asked them, were they going to be dealing with the plant and were they going to have ample capacity? And the answer is yes, they have dealings with the port facility and they have ample capacity, and they will go through the force treatment plant that's sitting there now. It's getting some upgrades and new equipment thanks to the rate increase on your bill and mine. And they have no trouble supplying what is needed for this. Fun fact, someone else alerted me to the fact that this chiller that cools down these widgets, these servers, will be run through the pipeline system about 9 times. And at that point, then they bring in a new batch of water to run through the pipeline. And the discard has to go somewhere to cool down because it's so hot. It would basically kill all the bacteria that are the treatment facility tool of use for how we deal with sewage in this country today. So they're real careful not to just dump it directly into the tank or the field. They're going to have a cool down tower. That is a separate contract, which we may need to get the sewer utility in here to tell us about. Yes, Judge Griffin.
2 things. On the discharge from the chiller, the energy companies will tell you that they're going to go renewable or they're going to recycle the water usage. What they're not telling you is that when they ultimately discharge it, the water will have forever chemicals in it. And those forever chemicals are going to go someplace. And those forever chemicals are going to get into our soil, to your point. And our children's children will have to wrestle with the consequences of that situation merely for the benefit of billionaires. So please do not think that when you hear we're going to not use as much water because we're going to recycle it, that is a panacea. It is simply a way of getting us to go the okie doke. Okay? Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Right. It's got forever chemicals in it. And the second thing I'll say is, on Tuesday night, there will be 4 measures on the agenda for County Court, Bless County Court, to address high-intensity digital infrastructure. Justice Julie Blackwood has sponsored them. I drafted them. I'll be glad to talk with anybody about them, but they will help us deal with some of the planning issues. The way we have to deal with this is at the local planning level, because the state has already ceded the control in 2023. And so at the local planning level is where we're going about it. I'm proposing some measures, 4 measures, that I think will be relevant to all of us think about. I'll be able to talk to anybody about them if you want to.
I got that last night from the Quorum Court Administrator, Justin Blagg, and after this meeting, I will mail those out. The agenda names them, and there is a link to the full text of each. It gets technical very quickly, but they're all there for you to see and use and research. So that's coming to you, shall we say, before bedtime. Thank you, Judge. Griffin?
Well, Judge Griffin brings
hear some of my colleagues say we want to be competitive with our neighboring states.
Right.
So when these bills come up in the legislature, it's packaged. It's an economic boom for our state. It's gonna do this, that, and the other. And then once we pass it out, and then the devil's in the details, and then we find out later that it was not maybe that sweet deal that we once thought it was. And so I can only speculate, and they want to be competitive. They want to be like, oh, we want to be like Tennessee. We want to be like these states. We want to get these data centers here. It's going to provide jobs. And we know that it doesn't provide those jobs that everybody think they are. And we also know that it's going to drain our water systems, our electric systems. And so we're now just trying to figure out how all those pieces work or don't work. And so that's kind of where I'm at. I'm in the middle trying to figure out, you want to believe that these companies, the good faith of the companies, that they're going to do this and that and the other. And then like you heard, Judge Griffin mention, and, Kathy Wells and others about, well, they really aren't good stewards. So.
Yeah, I just, that, and I'm not commenting on what you're saying, I think you're right. I just feel that argument's so passe these days, economics is where we want to go. We see where capitalism is getting us.
Well, one of the interesting things, Rip,
What's that?
one of the very interesting things on that particular direction was, a couple of months back, I got a roundup of the 50 state legislatures on the subject of data centers. And the headline was, states pull back in 26. And what they then iterated, state to state to state, was bills that were being proposed that put in moratoriums, or that put in other kinds of linkage that pulled back on wide open tax abatements. They weren't offering you to come in for no tax anymore. Compared just to 25, it was just a 12-month turnaround. And so there is this national trend in the very practical bills in the hopper tally about this. So Brian King has got some basis for persuading his colleagues to slow this train down and to be more careful about what offers, incentives are offered. And that too is following the trends in the states that have a lot of them. I did send that article out.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I just think it's encouraging to see almost 30 people here today, and just on a Saturday morning. And I've been coming to meetings, Kathy, for about 3 years, and I've seen some with half this or less, so this is a good trend. I hope everyone keeps on top of it and keep focused.
And I just kind of piggyback on that, because today my commitment was to come and get information, but then to go home as a citizen and email my board officials, my city council, with a, first of all, thank you for having openness, and also it is time for us to be less concerned about campaigns and more concerned about slow down and make some wise decisions, because for all of that capitalism, tech, growth, AI, gotta have some of that, gotta have it. But we are tourism, agriculture, what are our main economies here in Arkansas, and we truly protecting those and what the people.
And I would encourage you to, you say you're in Conway? So who's your rep? Is it?
Yeah,
Brian,
talk to your
is it-
senator and rep, yeah.
Is it Matthew?
That's happening.
Who is it?
Well, we've got Fred Hill.
Well, no, your state legislature.
State House.
Oh, Steve Maggie is for me,
Oh,
and Matt Brown.
McGee, okay. Steve McGee, and I know them both, yeah. I will email them, and who's your senator?
Quiet, community, but people are really starting to press that.
Who's your senator? Is it Senator Mark Johnson? Yeah. And I would do all of those things. I would email all of them. Yeah.
Yes,
sir.
Judge.
Kathy mentioned that the measures that are on the Court Reports agenda sent out last night, if you go to the Court Reports website, their agenda is listed. You'll need to look for item 26-I32. -I 26-I31 and 26-I34. The first two are resolutions, which basically provide findings, legislative findings, about this whole high-intensity digital infrastructure issue. These are very important. If your quorum court or your city is going to be working in this area, you want to build a legislative record. The second two are ordinances, are laws. A conditional use permitting process whereby you have them permitted. And the last one is one that's going to get especially a lot of attention, is a notice of industrial impact and intent requirement. A law that requires that within 90 days after property has been acquired or has been designated to use it for industrial capacity that fits an objective criteria, certain kinds of disclosures must be made. Go look at those laws. My email address is Wendell, WENDELL.Griffin, GRIFFEN @gmail. Please come to the quorum court meeting Tuesday night, and in the meantime, let your justice of the peace know what you're thinking about these things. Because, as you have mentioned, the industry is already moving ahead of the game. Last thing I'll say is this. Kathy's right. There is a trend nationally to slow down. The moratorium is slowing down. The reason why there's a big push is those areas that have not begun to regulate, like Arkansas, are open game. And if there's a slowdown, all the areas where the slowdown is in place are trying to pivot to where it's open season. Water seeks the path of least resistance, and guess what? If you got no regulation, that's least resistance.
Thank you. That is definitely where we want to be, is communicating our concerns out of this room with our electeds on all levels of government. And one other point that I've been learning about is the water that is discharged from a cooling system in a data center is not only so hot you've got to cool it down or it'll ruin the system of treatment sewage system. And it has these chemicals in it. We need to get an information article out about that. Thank you for reminding me. But it turns out there's a whole new industry, classic American enterprise, that has grown up around this hot water discharge. Hot water is expensive. You pay money to get it hot, and it can be useful in many other enterprises, in boilers that you use in your business to produce widgets. And so they call this purple water for this whole category of using it a second time. I think that you may have touched on that in your Recycle Snow Panacea. But it's possible that right next to the data center in the port, a new company might grow up, the Denise and Kathy widget business, that wants to take every bit of that hot water coming off that data center and put it into our inlet and then use it however we profit from making widgets. So be alert to secondary uses of the discharged hot water. Be alert to the term purple water lines and purple water, or businesses that use purple water, because that's also something we're watching.
And I did find the data center town hall that Mayor Rainey is going to host next month. It's going to be on the 16th, 6:30 at their city gym in Rice.
there an address for that handy?
It is, it's off of Highway 365, let me find it.
One would hope that it is well signed, but one is careful with the assumptions when you're trying to make a meeting on time.
I know, I'm sorry. I just assume everybody know where these places are, I'm sorry.
We'll get you straight.
While she's looking that up, forum court meets in Pulaski County, Judge Chris?
Yes.
Second and Broadway,
Second and Broadway.
Second and Broadway downtown.
fourth floor. And there is a security guard that will look at your purse and then pass you through the barrier and on up to the elevator on the fourth floor.
Leave your pocket knives at the house.
Much less your guns.
All right, the address is 13022 Highway 365. Zip code 72206.
Can you repeat the day and time again?
It's gonna be held on June 16th, 6:30.
One of the mysteries that I haven't yet managed to research, welcome contributions on this front, is where the city is using this Act 9 bond and is giving up millage for all of these millage recipients, including the schools. Avon had none of that because they came in and they're privately financing themselves. And all of their literature and their fact sheets brag about all the millions that they contribute to the local governments where they operate. And they specifically have bragged, particularly in Virginia, where there's a whole cluster of these things, that they have contributed so much to the county government where they operate, they have zeroed out the other sources. In other words, if XYZ County in Virginia has an Avowed data center, they are generating the full 50 million budget or 100 million budget of the county.
They're praising their tax responsibility.
They're praising that they are taxed and they are paying it, and it is so big. And of course, one of the things that so we'll have to see about that. And I have also alerted the folks that I know in the assessor's office to make sure that they hustle in there just as soon as Avowed does something that's taxable to get it on the tax books, just so we don't miss any time frames there. But one of the other things that has come out of all this is the issue of what happens when they stop and they close, where we have this city purchase and we have this abatement tied to this bond issue. Mr. Sarpy, the finance advisor, educated me, well, this is a corporation that's got a 30-year bond. They're going to hustle to get some other client in that facility. So if the bubble bursts on Google, they're not going to let it sit idle because they've got a monthly bill payment for the bond issue. So they're going to get something in there. So that is, in fact, good news for the community that it won't sit idle and rotten. On the other hand, if this all goes bust down in Wrightsville, this is a private company that can walk away tomorrow and let it be home for the bats. And I have not a clue what their reputation is or what the future holds, but I am wary and watching. And I encourage you to be the same one.
What is Aveo's, what's their business model? What do they sell or service? Or
They are the landlords to a bunch of servers. So if I'm in the Aveo role, I am saying, I'm open for business. Why don't you come in here for your business purpose and rent half of building 1 for a nice fat rental to do your business? But it's specific to the business model. Google, on the other hand, apparently has a bunch of clients, and it's in the Google name, and they're shipping out digital product to everybody in this room, let's say, is a client of Google, and you're getting your individual material up on your specs for your contract to get something out of the Google data center, as I understand what's going on. Yes, sir.
Just to get my timeline right, August 2023, the state has its Act 851 that seeks control from local municipalities for these data centers. Last year in April, all the Little Rock board members signed the NDA for Willow Bend, which is Google.
I have no notion about signing NDAs. I just know that it went public on the agenda for the sale of the property. That was in April.
Okay.
So the NDAs had to have come in advance at that time.
Okay. And this year was when ABIO was when they announced that they were doing this project in January. And this year we found out it was Google, not Willow Bend, that was doing it. Little Rock.
And we also began to get information out of the Public Service Commission about electricity rates that Energy wanted to provide for all of this demand in various categories and ways. But one of the other things to keep in mind here is okay, I just had a senior moment. Here, pass on. Denise, what else?
So I have to leave shortly because I have some other obligations to get to. In closing, I want everybody, this is my call to action. Please find out who your representatives are. I'm your representative. You. Have a discussion with them, email them. Also, find out whoever your ward member, your city council, find out who that person is. I'm sure you know. Your senators, your House representative, your county, your city. Have a discussion with them, email them, let them know that you know what's going on and that you need them to demand that these people come to a public meeting and plead their case and let us know as a public what they plan on doing in our communities. Please know that I'm working on my end to get that to happen for Google and Avio. So please know that I'm working on that. And also, please know that I'm not an expert at data centers, and I do rely on expertise from Kathy, and I'm glad that Judge Griffin was here to let us know what he plans to do with the county and the quorum court. I want to thank the lady from Faulkner County for being here. This is a group effort. If you want to sign up for this advisory group that
Has that sheet gone around, by the way, all the way to Mary?
Who has it?
It's Pat.
if you want to sign up for the exploratory group that we're forming, please do so. If you want to do a FOIA request, I will give Kathy the information for that, so you can do a FOIA request.
Step-by-step memo.
Yes.
Memo.
Also give you Susan Forte's number, the lady who is in Sweet Home, who's organizing that area, getting them energized about the data center debacle. So that's all I have. If anybody have any more questions or concerns, my number is area code 501-690-4211. And I'm glad that everybody was here asking great questions. And hopefully we can get some stuff going in 2027.
Won't be for lack of trying.
I can't
Won't be
promise.
for lack of trying.
Can't promise, but I will promise that I will try my best to get some stuff done in 2027 to address the data center debacle. And that's all I have.
Thank you. And thank you, Judge Griffin, for bringing the word about the county actions. The concerns are getting a face, they're getting a proposal, they're getting information out to folks, so we have sensible issues. Yes, ma'am, Jan.
Kathy, you said you spoke with the Corps of Engineers person and.
Michael Galen.
Yes, he was going to get back her personally to each person that asked questions. Did he mention anything about scheduling a public hearing?
What he said was, all our responses are going to culminate in an official reply from the Army Engineers. Wait 120 days, maybe longer, because if it's at the current, shall we say, lower level of this military chain of command, they will work through all of these replies. They will tally them, they will tally their researches, and they have ready to say this about that. And that could be day 120. On the other hand, if this is considered such a high-profile issue that a senior military official up the chain of command decides that he will be the public respondent to the community about this and answer the question about public hearing or not, then you just add 3 weeks in his inbox for this to come through the internal workings of the Army Engineers and out to the street and to a public announcement. So this is not going to happen very fast. He did say that public hearings are rare, so he was discouraging the expectation that they would decide for one. But you just don't know until the answer comes. It depends on how persuasive everybody who wrote specific comments turned out to be. I did learn one other interesting comment. One of the 3 or 4 listed endangered species that is an Army Engineer's task to evaluate any wetlands fill to protect endangered species includes a variety of bat and butterfly and something. And he did comment that this is not an area which has any bats in it. I got the impression, I could be wrong, that if we had an endangered bat to go advocate on behalf of, we would be very much more successful than any other endangered advocacy. So we've missed out on the big opportunity here. But he was very polite and responsive to my questions. We got to just keep looking at the public notice sheet page of the Army Engineers where all this will be posted. And we do not know the day or the hour. I'm thinking in the responses of us individually, there will be something that says that. I think I got him telling me that was what we got covered. But there will be also news reporting about that, as there was this time. So does anybody have any other concern that they want to bring before us at this time?
If you live in the Sweet Home, College Station, East Little Rock area, there's a resolution 26I-33 that's going to propose to establish a regional infrastructure impact corridor covering the Port of Little Rock industrial area, the Sweet Home community, and eastern Pulaski County. Read that, because you've got to outrun, remember the cartoons? Roadrunner always has to outrun Wile E. Coyote, right? Roadrunner cannot outrun Wile E. Coyote by giving Wile E. Coyote a head start. So we got to think like Roadrunner.
Looks like we're going to try and come back in June and hear from Energy. And I'm going to say the sewer utility because of the forever chemicals issue and the recycle issue. As near as I can tell, the water issue is cooked. They are fully in assurance. So they have nothing to adjust on behalf of their operations because of this demand. And they're also contracting for supplying the water to the Wrightsville facility, from what I understand. So that would be good news. I don't have any information about the sewage discharge in the Wrightsville facility. So that's still to be researched.
They look at impact to species in the
Well, not when it's the existing treatment plant that goes, this is a long-standing operation by the airport called the Fush Creek Treatment Plant, and it discharges eventually into the Arkansas River.
Addition of the new water that will be added in this change.
What's going on in Aveo, we don't know. And we have no information about whether there would be any contract with the sewer utilities. They've got water lines running in the area. As I understand it, they would have to build sewer lines, from what I know so far. And its distance to an existing treatment line, like the Fush Creek treatment plant, is a lot greater distance than Google in the port. That's kind of sitting right there at the ready. Wrightsville one is not at all. So we've got a lot for them to define, and of course Mayor Rainey is on the front lines. And what we need to be doing is continuing close information from him. And what he finds out and what he wants to put out in public discussion would be something that we would try and pass along. But the company material so far is so full of happy talk, you have to wonder just how well it will hold up in reality and over the many years of activity. Yes, Judge?
Save the date, please. Save the date, June 27th. June 27th. The last Saturday in June before the 4th of July. At CAL's, I'm going to be hosting a forum on ways to regulate this issue at the local level, at the quorum court, at the county level, to include model resolutions, model ordinances that can be used, and why. June 27th, Central Arkansas Library System, I believe it's from 1:30.
Is that in their big Dara Center room?
Yes, ma'am.
Which one?
The main library, Central Arkansas Library System, main downtown.
What time?
1:30 p.m.
And how long would you expect it to last?
It ends at 4. We'll end at 4.
1:30 to 4. So to recite 1:30 to 4 p.m. on June the 27th at the Central Arkansas Library there at 2nd and Rock,
Yes, ma'am.
on the upper floor in the large meeting room, the Dara Center,
Yes, ma'am.
hosted by Judge Wendell Griffin on local regulations and model ordinances to pursue.
And I'm grateful to Steve Mawarchek for helping to pull that together and get it organized. So we're trying to take a proactive position on this. You can find out more about it in the coming weeks. I'll post it on my campaign website, but I want to put the word out to it now.
Well, thank you very much. And when you get the flyer out, we'll send that out too.
It's on the top floor, the 5th floor. Excuse me. Thank you.
And I do have the, correct address for Daisy Banks. I think the address you gave was to the, PCSSD district. The one on Dixon Road, that's the school district.
Okay.
You mean like a staff office and yours is the school office
Yes,
and
so
address?
the actual school is, 14300.
14300.
Dineen, D-I-N-E-E-N Drive.
Say that again?
D-I-N-E-E-N.
Deneen.
Deneen Drive. And that's Little Rock 72206.
Thank you. 14300 Deneen Drive, Little
Yes,
Rock,
sir.
7206. Thank you.
Yes.
And this is an elementary school, is that right?
Daisy
Daisy
Banks.
Banks Elementary School.
Right.
Thank you. I stand corrected.
All righty.
Got a hand here, Kathy.
Yes.
The meeting on the 27th, is that a working session or is it an informational session?
It's an informational session, and it is aimed at helping give us knowledge is power. So get the information, but also provide tools that local groups can use to engage this. We find ourselves playing catch up.
And having to craft a particular legislation, law, or resolution around and about all of the stumbling blocks and the obstacles that state legislators in cahoots with economic developers and energy utility have thrown out there. So it's broken field running, truly.
So what I've done is I have looked at the law, I've looked at what's going on around the country, and I've found a way to craft a policy structure, framework that we can be used. But I'm trying to make sure that's available to people because, like you said, in Faulkner County, it's in Grant County, it's in Jefferson County, it's all the rural counties, okay? And so, county judges are behind. I suffer from the addiction of reading and being a lawyer. And so, you know, I'm turned loose. I'm a Jedi. The Force is with me.
They should be, but unfortunately they've been so dazzled by the big numbers and the promise of big profits and big tax payments.
And you're exactly right, Kathy.
And they're dazzled, they're just bedazzled.
There's another problem. Our policymakers are tech idiots. They don't know how to work their smartphone hardly, and let alone understand data. And that's not their fault. This process, this technology has changed so quickly. How many times, what model iPhone do you have? How many times has the iPhone developed? I mean, I'm a little familiar when you had Palm Pilots, okay? Now, that's how fast this changed. And our policymakers have a tough time. I'm not taking up on this. This is true. And so keeping up with the technology is always something that policymakers don't do. The tech companies have lobbyists who can make this stuff palatable. And gee whiz, if it makes a lot of money and they say jobs, they go, oh God, give me more, give me more, give me more.
We need to pay more attention to the construction crews on these, particularly because the expectation is they're going to build 5 buildings, and so the crews may really never quit for year in, year out. And once again, I want to see what the opportunity is to get some affordable housing as part of this housing the crews issue. But you talk about the change in tech. My research, which includes some foreign sources and some scientific origin sources, has brought me a couple of interesting articles in recent months. One is off in England. They've got some clever inventors that are grappling with the high dollar cost of the very big, expensive to operate data centers. And what they're doing is they're finding a way to miniaturize data centers so that it might be just an annex to your existing business operation over here. You don't need to become a client of a ginormous data center down the road at the end of an fiber optic cable. So that's one of the reasons why this might become a speculation bubble and the business doesn't all come, is because you've invested in all of this stuff, and then 2 years from now, hey, I've got this down to something in a shipping container size operation that can go all these other places. And wouldn't you like to have one of your very own? Okay then. There was another one out of the science field. Someone has managed to grow a particular kind of crystal of a very small size. Now we've all heard about the way you can store data on crystals. generally. But now we're down, once again, very, very tiny. But the potential is for this very tiny crystal to store a ginormous amount of data. So once again, the world may turn over and the future may go in a very different direction from these data centers. Nobody is talking about orderly closure and assurance that you leave no pollution behind in the dirt, the air, the water, the sewage, or anything else.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I hope we get us on the 27th, Judge,
If
is
you,
close down.
if you look at the ordinances that, the last ordinance, the I-34, it has a set of fees to include a decertification fee. Because you've got to think about what you're gonna, what the process is, and if you have a 150 megawatt data center, or a 300 megawatt data center, it's gonna take more to decertify that than a 10 megawatt. And so you've got to have a fee structure that is scaled to the size of your center, not to make money. This is not a revenue generating. This is basically to make sure that you cover the impact of the point that Kathy's making, because yes, it will be decertified. There is more energy in this thing you have in your home, in your hand. This thing does the same amount of computing that a whole room of computers did when I started college in 1968. You had to have a whole room. No. You had to have a whole floor.
Or a whole city block.
Yeah.
When you go back to the origins, remember the histories of computers? They were filling whole city blocks
Right.
of this stuff.
Right.
And now, it's in your hand.
Yeah.
So, there's every reason to think that enterprise across the planet is going to move this whole enterprise in a similar direction. Yes?
What organization, corporation, or environmental government that looks over the waste and the pollution that possibly these data centers will develop?
It would be a handful. You've got water discharge through the state Arkansas Environmental
Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality.
Quality Department. So what comes out of the sewage line is their department. And they aren't as current as they might be on tech, let's put it that way. We're seeing them in some other categories. You've got the folks in the water department who are investing an awful lot of your ratepayer dollars in making sure that we have plenty of clean water for the foreseeable future. But they're going to be spending to get that tech. So your rates are going to be cooked on that. That's one of the few places you can really think that you're getting your money's worth out of that. The big unknown is the electric monopoly, because it's so big and because their profit model is I'm the utility monopoly and I need to build a new plant and I need to collect all these rates to pay for all the new shiny stuff I'm building. Amory Lovins over at the Rocky Mountain Institute has time and again shown how you can pull this same amount of energy from your existing customer base if you do a few smart efficiency and renewable models. Now it's interesting, the Avail plant in Wrightsville is going to combine renewables with a contract from the electric utility. They're talking about putting solar panels, covering the parking lot, covering the roof, and then going off in the South 40 and putting up a bunch of solar panels to generate a portion of their electricity. So, not everybody is Johnny One Note, but the electric monopoly is a real hard business process to influence for the better and for changes.
So Tom Cotton's data center bill too, so he has, and I may look this up, but that proposed regulation that if the data centers don't connect directly and provide their own infrastructure, they then do not have to abide by regulation and oversight. And so my concern is, it's the same group, right?
It's a bad bill on behalf of the industry, is what that sounds like.
Oh, yeah, well, it's giving them carte blanche, right? You've got a property, you've got water, and you've got the electricity, and it doesn't say you have to curtail your usage, it says you no longer have to abide by our rules and regulations. I'd say keep your eyes on that also.
Good point, good point.
So again, they're squeezing from all.
Watch them everywhere and everywhere, and I'll try and collect this material and send it out.
You won't get a moratorium. I want a reality test, okay, everybody? If you hear moratorium in Arkansas, think Santa Claus. Because of the 2023 bill, moratorium is DOA. Even at city, there is a state law. There is a state law that prohibits local prohibition of data centers. What you do have in that state law is preserving local control over land use impacts. Say it with me. Land use impacts. That is where the regulatory power goes. And you target the impacts, the electrical grid impacts, the water impacts,
Pollution.
the pollution impacts, the thermal and the noise impacts, the road impacts from construction, the
Emergency response.
emergency response and fire impacts. All of these are impacts that can be addressed in the local land use planning context. And you can condition permitting based on how these impacts are mitigated. In my bill, in my ordinance, if you don't satisfy the notice requirement, then you cannot get the permit until you've done so. But you cannot believe in the moratorium. I know moratoriums are going on other states. We are too late to catch that train. Done left the station, gone down the track, and we are then back in the terminal waiting, wait. It's not going to back up and catch us. I don't know.
I think that we have kind of covered it all for today.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that we're officially stand in adjournment. If you put AG after your name, I will definitely email you those county proposals and anything else I can obtain in my research. Feel free to send me your research to share with the group.
Thank you,
Two-way
Kathy.
street. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Kathy.